Hello. Check person or the CS or here. Hope you have stand up with you. And you remember the place we stopped last week? Remember the place we stopped last week? Hello? Have the hand out. There you can write down some additional notes. Those who are connected online, can you all hear us? There are 9 members. Can you all hear us?
Yes, sir. We can hear you.
Right, thank you. I'm sorry, there was a technical issue that we couldn't log in the meeting on time. So I'm sorry about the delay. We were here waiting, but we couldn't start the lecture. Good morning, everyone. Hello, good morning. I think this is the 6th session. 6th session on operations management. And we have to complete the previous topic we started last week. Well, that was on operations capacity planning, capacity management. So let's complete that part first before moving to the new topic. As you may remember, we almost discussed the initial part of it. We defined what operations capacity is, did we? Right. So that is one of the main operations management decisions, because for a service, the volume they can produce. So that has to be well planned and arranged in order to maintain operations smoothly and efficiently. For that, they have made this decision what we call operations capacity planning and then operations capacity management part of it. So we understood operations capacity could be related to any operations resources, mainly the resources like the factory or the machinery or the production lines, or else the workforce used for operations. So in terms of those operations resources, what is the maximum output they can produce is what we call its operations capacity. Based on that, the production rate and whether they can meet the market demand and everything will be determined. Managers should carefully identify, based on various different factors, what is the capacity they need to establish in the operation system and how they should maintain it, how they should make sure capacity they have and no, that is the area here. Operations capacity management. It could be about factory capacity, machine capacity, the capacity of the production line, or capacity of the other operations resources like the warehouses, transport arrangements, and then of course they are operating staff. So we further discussed different concepts, why this is important in detail. So I'm just drawing your attention to this key decision-making process we discussed the other day. So as I told you the other day, for operations managers and the top management of the business to make capacity decisions, a decision-making process like this will be useful. That begins with identifying what they have already. So what is the existing capacity should be understood, should be assessed. And then for capacity requirements should be forecasted. That we discussed in 3 steps. Initially, managers should identify the demand, forecast the demand. That should be converted into capacity requirements in terms of labor hours, in terms of machine hours, and then see what they have and what they want and compare whether there are any gaps. Whether there are any gaps, as you see here. So when you see the capacity requirements, as in the blue line here, and then the capacity you have, that is the red dotted line. So then you can see whether the adequate capacity is available or whether you have capacity shortages or excessive capacity, based on which you have to identify what capacity alternative should be implemented to manage the capacity related problems. If you have capacity shortage situation, so then you have to plan how to get the additional capacity. Or else in a situation like this, initial period of month, periods of the year, the demand requirements are lower than what you have, so that you have excessive capacity. We understood that is also not good. There are many operational consequences, financial consequences. You identified, right? Do you remember? Through a in-class activity, we identify what happens when you have excessive capacity. You came up with nice points. So then, managers should identify some capacity modification methods. Right. That is to make sure you don't have excessive capacity. So likewise, different capacity modifying options should be identified. Then select the best one based on the feasibility. So for that, we identify different evaluations, like feasibility evaluations can be done. Especially the financial and economic feasibilities are relevant for management students like you all. And then of course the technical factors are also relevant. That will be managed by the technical support staff of the factory for the business. So we are there. I hope you remember this, and we identified other concepts also, and some calculations with these concepts, and then there's 2 ratios: capacity efficiency and capacity utilization. Further to that, we also identified how to assess the capacity requirements based on forecasts. And finally, we were here. We were trying to identify capacity modification techniques that are useful in different industries. So we divided them into 2 main categories. One is called one strategy called level capacity strategy. Some businesses, both manufacturing and service industries, due to their selection, due to their business decision, they may have decided to continue with level capacity strategy. What does that mean? Capacity is set. It's constant a period of time, right? And then capacity. So that is the reasons like capacity adjustment. Only the capacity can be adjusted in the long run, not in the short run and the medium run. So such firms, such industries, they continue with constant capacity. We call it level capacity. You will come to know because your assignment is also based on this topic. When you visit some industry, for example, if you visit a porcelain factory, so for an example, the capacities of each department, capacities of main resources could be constant, that they can't adjust it. Or it could be a library where they store books and all. Its physical capacity could be constant. So they are managing operations with a stable capacity. When demand fluctuates, they have to manage supply with a constant supply. So let's see what are the possible tactics for that. We also started discussing it. So that is called level capacity. That is relevant to some businesses. Whereas some other firms, some other industries may follow the second strategy if that is relevant for them. And so what is the second strategy we identified? We call it chase demand strategy. What is the main characteristic? As you see here, as the demand demand varies, demand fluctuates, capacity will also be adjusted. As you see here, white line. So capacity is adjusted, chasing the demand. When the demand increases, capacity increases. When the demand increases, capacity decreases. So that approach is called chase demand strategy. There are the few here, right? 12 participants. Where it is shown, usually the LMS where the link is shown. I was explaining those who are connected online, can you tell us from where you got the link? Online join la ඉන්න කෙනෙක් මට කියන්න මේ කොහෙන්ද ඔයගොල්ලෝ link එක ගත්තේ? Hello. Hello. There are 12 participants here. Online participants, tell us from where you got the link.
Good morning, sir. අපිට WhatsApp ඉන්නේ.
WhatsApp group එකේ දාලා තිබුණේ. පොඩ්ඩක් share කරන්න පුළුවන්ද ඒක මේ අනිත් groups එකත් එක්ක ඔයගලගේ තියෙනවද තව WhatsApp group එක? ඒකට මේ I think ඔයගොල්ලෝ දැන් reply කරපු කෙනා ඔයා 80 exception group එකේ සාධිත group ලැබුවා. reply කරපු කෙනා දැන් reply කරපු කෙනා මම exception group එකේ
මම exception group එකේ කෙනෙක් මට මේ main group එකේ WhatsApp එක නෑ මේ exemption ඒ group එකට මට දාන්න පුළුවන් link එක
exception group එකට විතරයි වඩ දාන්න පුළුවන් නේද?
ඔව් sir.
අපිට දෙන්න කරන්න පුළුවන්ද මේ ඔයගොල්ලෝගේ number එකක් මට දෙන්න? තවරන් මේ අනිත් group එකේ ඉන්න කෙනෙක්ගේ
coordinator.
ඔයාටද sorry ඔයාගේ නම කොහොමද වෙන්නේ ශාතිගේ නම්බර එක තියෙනවද ශාතිගේ නම්බර එක පොඩි පොඩ බලන්න අපි නැත්නම් නම්බර එක කියමුද යාට තියෙනවද ශාතිගේ නම්බර එකට ඒක පොඩ්ඩක් ෂෙයා කරන්න What a group in access and then WhatsApp group So I'm connected online now. We have just started the lecture little while ago. But you can mark your attendance. I will give you 3 to 5 minutes. Anyone who could mark the attendance here? Everyone manage. Twenty-three participants and others. We were here. Before the break, I will check the head count and consider only the participants who are joined online and here physically and their signatures only. Right. We were discussing about capacity management strategies available. We identified two. One is called level capacity strategy and the other one is called chase demand strategy. Some firms, in addition to these two, together use another approach. This is not capacity management strategy, but we call it demand management strategy to manage the demand to make the capacity available. We will discuss that one also. So, in addition to that, we identified, I'll go back to that. We identified specific tactics commonly used in manufacturing firms, service firms to manage their capacity requirements. I showed you the other day under two main strategies, what are these tactics and how they can select them. Let's quickly discuss them, identify and discuss them in detail to get further, better understanding. I have mentioned 8 different capacity modifying tactics which are common, which are commonly available for manufacturing firms and service firms to use. Spend a little time with them and check whether you can understand. Some tactics like this are very much useful for managing capacity and demand adjustments. Check whether you get those points. Yeah, if you have some doubts, we can discuss things in detail. Those who are connected online also should go through them and check whether you can understand these techniques, these tactics. Check whether you can understand them and what you can't understand. What is not clear to you? As a capacity management or capacity modifying strategy, one technique or one tactic is not clear to you. Everything? Well, for manufacturing industries, manufacturing, whether that is FMCG products or any other industrial products, the first technique is often used. What is it? Use of inventories as a capacity modifying alternative. I don't know whether you have thought of it before, right? So use of inventories and inventory management for facing capacity challenges. Not only in manufacturing, in service industries also this can be used to some extent, but mostly in service manufacturing. Now in manufacturing, what they produce? Products, right? It could be consumer products like food item or a packaged item or any other consumer durables like refrigerators to electronics to apparels to wristwatches to mobile phones. Right. So not only one product, they may be producing few varieties, few designs of which the demands are varied. So to make sure they have enough products supply to the market when customer order them, this is one main strategy they use. They manufacture such products well in advance and maintain as inventories. So they don't have to face any capacity shortages when the real demand comes. They can supply through the inventory. That is one common strategy. Assume that they are producing and supplying 20 different products, 20 varieties. 20 varieties, so that they don't have the factory capacity to produce all 20 items as the demand comes. So what they do is they plan the production and produce in large batches and maintain them in inventories so they are ready to supply whenever the demand comes. That is how most of the manufacturing industries survive. Clear? And thereby they can avoid many problems. For that, the main strategy they use is use of standard. In addition to that, these are also. Have you heard of it before? Back ordering is also a strategy coming under this. Look for the details what it is. Some industries, some firms often use it. In addition to standard stocks, they may go for back ordering strategy. See what it can do. Only when you find it, you remember it. What is back ordering in manufacturing? And inventory is related strategy. What is back ordering in manufacturing industries? Yeah, what you could understand. That is it. Right. So those who tried have found it. That's it. Very simple, but common strategy. The factory accepts the order. Even though they don't have the capacity to supply, they accept the order. Now they have a capacity shortage, capacity constraint. So the capacity is level. Constant. So they accept the order and negotiate with the customer to supply little later. after some time, when the capacity available, they just clear the back block and backward, postponing the supply for a future time period when the capacity is available. So well accepted strategy. Now, say for an example, automobile companies like Toyota to various other leading firms, they now accept orders for the second or third quarter of 2026. Because then only they can supply the parts. They get August, September, October 2026. Because the capacity is available. In addition to that, they can also use other tactics like customer base. They accept orders and the customers are waiting in queues, maybe waiting in a list. In addition to that, stock outs. When you are unable to supply, you declare that products are not available, stock out. That's also a strategy. Because capacity is limited. Certain items are stock outs. You are unable to sell also, but you communicate that to the customer. And firms consider that such demand as lost sales. You are unable to supply because your capacity is limited. The likewise. So there is one option available for firms to meet market demand with limited capacity. As I told you last week, this strategy is useful, or this strategy is used in industries or firms like what? Chase demand, firms following chase demand strategy or level demand strategy or level capacity strategy. මේ දෙකෙන් කෝකටද මේක වැඩිපුර මැච් වෙන්නේ? මොන ස්ට්‍රැටජි එක ෆලෝ කරන කම්පැනිස් වලට? Of course මේක මැච් වෙන්නේ constant supply එකක් තියෙනවා. ස්ට්‍රැටජි එක ෆලෝ කරන කම්පැනිස් වලට. This is the most common strategy used in such firms. Use of inventories. Use of inventories. There are other tactics also, but this is the main one. In the long run, in the long strategy is available. In slide number 23. So this is one of the main strategies available. It's in the long run, in the sense more than 1 year, more than 2-3 years time. So anything can be modified, like their factories, new machinery, new workforce. So they have enough time to modify anything. So that common strategies used in industries are establishing new facilities, new factories, new plants, new production lines, new equipments to match with the increasing market demand. So that is a common strategy. And setting off, when the demand is declining, some plants, some machineries are discontinued or selling off, right? And thereby capacity can be reduced. In addition to that, there are other long-term strategies as well. I will explain them. Coming to these tactics, for some other firms, the main capacity modification strategy available is making staffing changes. Making staffing changes. making staffing changes. What does that mean? That means operating level staff, factory workers, machine operators, right? Staff. Like in addition to what they have already, they may hire more workers. When the capacity requirements are increasing. So in both manufacturing industries, service industries, this can be used. When the capacity requirements are increasing, they hire more, especially hire casual workers and temporary workers. Temporarily increase the capacity. What we call layoff or what we call fire. Reduce the workforce like casual workers, temporary workers, when they are no longer required, their employment will be discontinued. They are on contract basis sometimes or weekly or daily basis. So such staff will be discontinued when the capacity requirements are declined. So that we call laying off or firing. So these are common terms in operations capacity adjustments. What are those? Hiring more. Hello? Hope you can understand. Hire more and more when demand increases. So capacity requirements increases. And fire or layoff. Write it down somewhere. I feel like you think you remember everything. No, you don't. You do not write it down now. Do you think that you will find more details from online and other sources? I write them down at home. They're not good. So those are common strategies available. This is a labor-intensive industries. And then this comes under which strategy? Level production or chase demand. It comes under chase demand strategy. It comes under chase demand strategy. Say for an example now, festive season is arriving end of November, now December, right? Then Christmas and festive season. So during this period of time, this period of the year, many service firms would try to increase their operating staff temporarily. Industries like what? In firms like what? It could be restaurants, hotels, department stores, like Hotel 2, various other department stores, right? Shopping malls, right? Staff, they need more and more staff. So what they do is they hire more temporary workers. This is the other common strategy that you know. What is it? Use of the workforce for long hours, overtime, at a higher rate. But same staff, in addition to 8-hour shift, they may be working 2-hour additional sessions. So overtime to increase the capacity. And use of temporary workers also is another strategy. Clear? So those are capacity adjustments. You should know such specific details also when it comes to your assignment. For certain capacity problems they have, capacity shortages firms face, or maybe capacity adjustments they need, because you have to identify strategies as well. So they could be useful. And think of some of them, combine some of them, and suggest the firm, okay, you have these capacity issues, these strategies would be useful. Clear? Coming to long term, when it comes to workforce, the main option available is recruiting more staff to the permanent category, permanent cadre. For an example, SAB is trying to expand its operating capacity. Now, physical capacities they can expand it. I mean, they can expand by moving into new premises like this. In addition to the main premises, additional premises. But what is the main required workforce category for universities? That is academic staff and supporting staff. Can you understand it? So they have to increase academic staff by recruiting more permanent cadre. And operating staff, like machine operators to supporting staff, they have to recruit more. Otherwise, what will happen? The existing staff will be exhausted. That is not enough. You get that point? When they increase the student intake, what they have to do is increase the capacity. So that is the operations planning model. Recruit more operating staff. Recruit more operating level staff to permanent category. What is this? What are these? Laying off, reduce the workforce and downsizing. Yes, on permanent basis, you drastically reduce the workforce size. Maybe 40% of the workforce will be reduced. When? When to reduce? කොයි වෙලාවක වගේද මේ වගේ ඔපරේටින් ස්ටාෆ් එක අඩු කරන්න වෙන්නේ, ඩවුන් සයිස් කරන්න වෙන්නේ. ඉන්න විදිහටම පිළිස අරන් යන එක ප්‍රශ්නයක් වෙනවා, problematic. So when that would be problematic, the operating staff, right? The demand is declining, operating requirements are declining, so that's problematic to continue with the same level of workforce. They will have to downsize the workforce. Discontinue the employment of certain percentage. That is common. Especially large scale firms when they are when they are loss making, sometimes they will restructure the business. Maybe government sector businesses, they will try to privatize. Soon after privatization, what those and before privatization even, what usually they do? They introduce sometimes PRS programs, right, to downsize. These are two different approaches, but more or less similar. PRS stands for retirement scheme. Those negotiate for a package and leave the company, quit the company. Because the company is in the process of downsizing, reducing the workforce, reducing the capacity, because its workforce level is very high. PRS and downsizing could be another strategy. Do you think these are useful for you to manage organization? Those who are connected online, can you hear us? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Previously we were disconnected from the meeting. I hope you can hear us now. Can you see our screen also now?
Yes, sir. We can hear you.
Right, okay. Right. You are thinking of this strategy, we call it subcontracting. What is it? Subcontracting. Capacity adjustment. Hello? Have you heard of it before? Yes. So what, especially manufacturing firms do that. What happens there? They identify some other similar suppliers who may have the required capacity, like the factory, machinery, the workforce, right? And negotiate with them. They are going to complete our order under our supervision at a rate. Right? So technically what happens is this large scale company is going to use another company's capacity on temporary basis. It's machinery and the operating staff. They are producing our order. We have subcontracted our order to them. So that is how it happens in manufacturing industries. Basically on short term and medium term basis, some subcontracts are offered. Garment factories, most of the small to medium scale garment factories that you are familiar, that are located in your own villages, suburbs, not the large scale factories, but medium to small scale. What do? They usually don't get orders from their clients. They are just doing the subcontracts of the main suppliers, main factories. That is how they earn. Especially if they don't get direct orders, what they handle is subcontract orders. Assume those construction projects. In case of Sri Lanka, let's say large scale construction sites, maybe highway arrangements or highway roads, highway projects, or building projects. So large construction companies bid for them and they get the bids, they get the project. But they don't have enough capacity to manage everything. What they do is they subcontract them to other construction firms. So they have the machinery, equipment, workforce, and other operations resources required, and they complete the project under the supervision of the main company, and that is how the project goes on. That is especially short term and long, medium term firms. When the same thing is arranged for long term, we call it outsourcing. I hope that is familiar to you. Right. So as you see it here, as under long-term adjustments, outsourcing is a common long-term strategy used in many or almost all industries now. What is it? Outsourcing operations activities. Find little more details what it is. Outsourcing has different meanings, but when it comes to capacity requirements, what is the meaning of outsourcing and how it happens? Find for details. Outsourcing. Those who are connected online can also do a kind of Google search for any other assistance you have. So, outsourcing as a capacity modifying strategy, what it is. At least one or two sentences about it. Outsourcing as a capacity modifying strategy, especially in the long run. A simple idea how it happens. I think this term is not new to you. We use it everywhere, right? In management, this is the trend. And what is outsourcing? Hiring third parties. Yes, that is a simple way to describe it. Hiring a third party or assigning the task to a third party. What else? What are the other things? How else we can describe it? Third party for what kind of requirements? To perform tasks. Well, outsourcing can be done in different ways. Task outsourcing is one thing. We can outsource the task. We can find an outside firm, expert firm, to do a specialized task. In case of operations, that is operations task. In production, maybe completing one part of it. Instead of producing certain component in-house, we can find a supplier who manufacture that component and supply to us. That we no longer need such machinery, such production plant, because we are going to buy it from external suppliers. Would that be a solution for our capacity problem? Yes. They are not going to produce that component in-house. They have found a supplier who can manufacture and supply that component part. That is a it could be a task, it could be a product, even the responsibility can be outsourced. Right? So likewise, it could be a task, it could be a component, or the entire responsibility can be outsourced. That is a common strategy. Both manufacturing and service industries. Any other things you identified about outsourcing? Tahu mana kata agar nanti dan kata nanti. Tahu mana dua kata tu? Hello. Anything else that we missed? I couldn't follow this. Hiring machine or plants, yes, not necessarily the task or the responsibility. Certain resources can be outsourced. Resource outsourcing, machinery, maybe even the plant. Get their plant, their resources, resource outsourcing before. ඒ වගේ outsource කරගම එකක් නෙවෙයි. ඒක levels වලින් එක කරන්න පුළුවන්. Different levels. Especially to overcome your capacity problems. Now I assume you came to know now at least few strategies available. And you will think of them seriously. ඔයගොල්ලෝ කියන්නේ තියා seriously හිතයි කියලා මම හිතනවා. You will think of them seriously when you are going to suggest strategies for the company you're going to study to overcome their capacity problems. At least you now know some of the common strategies used. Right. You can also check whether they are already following those strategies. If not, you can recommend them. Sometimes you can combine some of these strategies together and suggest them. Clear? How about other strategies? Adjusting equipments. When you don't have enough equipment, purchasing additional machinery, additional equipments could be the strategy. You don't have to establish new factory, but you just purchase more machinery to the steps that are already struggling. Say for an example, a hospital, if you are studying a hospital and its operations capacity, assume that they have all the other resources adequately, but they lack of one particular, they have only one scanning machine. All the patients are waiting in queues to get the scanning done because they have only one scanning machine. There are more and more patients coming who require this scanning, but the hospital is unable to provide the service because of the resource limitation. So one thing that they can do is purchase 2 more scanning machines to the hospital and thereby clear the backlog they have. And thereby they can smoothly provide other hospital services as well. Purchasing additional machinery. On short-term basis, they can rent. Right. They can hire some resources, hire some machinery or rent. If you need, when you have additional resources, without keeping them idling, what you can do is you can lease them out on short-term basis or sell them without keeping them idling. Assume that a factory has a huge warehouse that they had built 2 decades ago. Now they have changed the products. They have reduced the production portfolio now. And they don't need such a big warehouse any longer. So one thing that they can do is they can lease out one part of the warehouse to another firm and generate a revenue, but then keeping it. Or permanently sell off certain machinery, equipments, rather than just idling. Likewise. Coming to long term, I mean, long term, new machineries, new equipments can be purchased and established when they need more and more capacity in future. It takes longer time. So, for an example, a firm like Ceylon Electricity Board. Ceylon Electricity Board. If they need certain new plants, it might take few years to construct it and then start producing the electricity, generating electricity and introducing them to the national grid. So it takes longer time. In addition to that, there are other strategies also you may quickly go through. How about this? Point number 4. Process improvements would also result in capacity improvements. Process improvements. It could be efficiency, it could be any other, maybe some manual tasks are now converted into automated tasks. Through such process improvements, what can happen is production time can be reduced and as a result, capacity can be improved. Can you understand that? Through process improvements, you can improve the capacity. And how about this one? What is it? By redesigning the products. What is it? Redesign. You modify the product, maybe simplify the product, so that the same product can be produced within a shorter time period. Earlier, to produce this component, this product, it took 5 hours. By redesigning the product, by making more simple now, it can be produced faster within 3 hours. Would that affect on the capacity? Yes. Earlier, for one product, it took 5 hours. Now, within 3 hours, one product can be produced. So, through redesigning products, capacity problems can be overcome. Can you understand it? So, like 5. This one, when closing facilities, that means when the factories and other facilities are no longer required, close it down. Stop production. Close them. This is the strategy used for capacity management. We may have seen abandoned factories. Factories. Because no point of maintaining them. They are closed down until they are required. I hope that is clear. This is also another approach, another method used in factories. You can also suggest them to the factories you are going to study. What is the concept here? We call it process flexibility or capacity flexibility. That is very useful concept nowadays. Have you heard it? Have you heard about it before? A very interesting concept. I think I have it's mentioned here in slide number slide number 25. Briefly, just have an idea. That's enough. Capacity flexibility, we call it. Flexibility. Being able to adjust quickly, right? Being able to change quickly. So in this case, capacity. Capacity can be adjusted to the situation. How? There are different techniques. So what capacity flexibility is? That is the ability to increase or decrease the capacity quickly or change the production of one product to another. We call it production shift. Product A and product B and product C. Right? They can quickly change from A to B to C, depending on the market demand. Because they have practiced this concept called capacity flexibility. Usually, this can be achieved through these techniques. These techniques, right? This we already discussed. Strategies of using others' capacity like outsourcing or subcontracting. In addition to that, now there are factories. We call them flexible plants. The factory is designed in such a way that they can change the production rate quickly, or they can move from one product to another quickly. So as they have flexible processes. The process used for one production can be adjusted to other. The typical example we cite there is a Toyota factory. Right? Toyota factories have a production system, they call it Toyota Production System, TPS, that is known for flexible capacity. Right? Toyota Production Systems known for flexible capacity. Toyota factories, their plants and their processes are designed in such a way that they can quickly adjust to the market requirements. When they need to produce one model of vehicles, let's say Land Cruiser, right? The assembly plant can start production of Land Cruiser, certain model, and then color combinations, and fulfill the market demand. When the demand is shifted to another model, let's say another model like Corolla, they can use the same factory, same processes with certain modifications. It's flexible to start assembling Corolla. Flexible. So capacity flexibility is very important now in factories. මොකද මේක සරල තේරුම? මොකද මේකේ basic meaning එක? Factories are adjustable. They can quickly adjust to the situation. Is it clear to some extent? What is the concept? Capacity flexibility. That can also be achieved through this. Especially in labor intensive factories, labor intensive service operations, they use this one to be flexible. What is that? We call it flexible workers. Flexible workers, meaning are the workers who can work in different production processes. Not only one step, they can operate, they can manage operations at different places. Flexible workers. Especially in services and in labor intensive operations. Such workers are well trained and they have skills to operate different machines, complete different processes. Multi-skilled workers. Multi-skilled workers who can handle more than one step, who can operate more than one machine. So what is the advantage with them? They can use, when the demand is there for one production, right? If they need to operate machine C, they can operate machine C as well. They can operate machine B as well. So like this. say most of the private banks, they have staff who can manage the operations at the counter, television operation. The same staff have been given the training to processing loans applications, loans processors, and they can, at a request, can operate in loan. I mean, we call it pawning section. That's a separate operation, right? Pawning section. So they are given the training for that as well. And even vouchers processing, clearance. Same staff, they can handle multiple tasks. Have you seen some private hospital, private banks? They operate with two teller machines, two count operations, two counters only. During the peak hours, let's say around 8:15 to 12:30 or so, during the daytime, when there are more customers now, they open up one or two more counters. Staff working in the back office, maybe in the loan section or recovery section, ask for operating one teller machine and reduce the customer waiting time. Those are capacity options. Can you understand? Capacity management. Flexible workers. I think you understand it now. With that, let me conclude that this part of it. There are other slides that I will just skip. And have some doubts we can discuss after break. We will be meeting around 10:20.
You check.
We will start our discussion now. I'll take another 5 to 10 minutes to complete one or two more slides here. Because for your assignment, these few points would also be useful. Hope you remember, we identified these three main options available for firms to modify their capacity. Especially these two capacity modifying strategies that we already identified. Level capacity and chase demand. Coming to the third option, that is called demand management. To reconcile the capacity and demand, some firms can also use demand management strategies also efficiently. So, if you get a little basic idea about it, what it is, as the term implies, managing the demand, not the capacity. As you see here, right, in this option, in demand management. So the capacity is constant, demand may vary, but through demand management, what organization would try to do is level the demand, smooth the demand, or manage the demand to match with the capacity available. Say for an example, now during the few months here, demand is lower than the capacity. But coming to demand management strategy, what they have done is they have increased the market demand to match with the capacity. So they have encouraged or motivate the demand, stimulate the demand to match with the capacity so that they can utilize the full capacity there. Coming to this part of the year, demand is higher than the capacity so that they are unable to supply. through some strategies, demand management strategies here, right, they have discouraged the demand to match the capacity. So let's see what are the options available for stimulating demand and discouraging demand. I have mentioned few techniques here in slide number 21. So the option one, that is when the demand exceeds capacity, when demand exceeds capacity, hope that situation is clear to you. Demand is higher than what you can actually offer. Your capacity is lower than the demand. So what the factory should do, or the management should do then, in demand management, they are to curtail the demand. They have to discourage the demand, curtail the demand to match with the capacity. Usually, what are the demand management techniques to curtail the demand, reduce the demand? Strategies like this, techniques like this, especially this one. What is it? Getting higher prices, increasing the prices, so that the demand will automatically go down, and then until it matches with the capacity. And scheduling local lead times also a demand management strategy. You negotiate with the customers and request for longer lead time, and thereby you can manage the demand to manageable level. And this is also another strategy that some businesses probably use, so efficiently use, that is reducing some low profitable products, low profitable businesses, and continue with the high profit businesses. So that the capacity can be focused on the highly profitable products for businesses on. However, demand management is a short-term and medium-term remedy. Face such market demand situations. In the long run, only the option is increasing the capacity is a must. Maybe in the long run. Coming to the second situation, that is when capacity exceeds the demand. You have higher capacity than demand. Can you imagine a situation like that? Right. The factory or the firm has higher capacity than required. So what demand management strategies would be useful there? What we have to do with the demand? Demand is low now. We have to stimulate the demand. So the options available there is stimulate the market demand. Or change the product to high demand products. If the existing products demand is declining, right? So change the products, maybe introduce new products of which the demand is increased or increasing. So then of course you can use your full capacity there. How to stimulate market? How to increase market demand? So the current demand management side again. Price adjustments are there on the current one. And demand value in discounts of a promotions there. Demand you can stimulate the demand so that you can use the full capacity. Clear? Promotions then discounts then. Say for an example, restaurants of which the capacity is fixed, isn't so? Kitchen staff, waiting staff, and then of course dining area capacity, all are stable. Yes, things can be adjusted, but that is given, right? So Usually, you may have seen they offer special promotions like happy hour deals. Have you seen happy hour deals? Usually, during which days of a week, during which hours of a day, they offer these happy hour deals. සතියේ මොන දවස්වල වගේ දේව offer කරන්නේ? Weekends වල? Hello? No, not necessary. Because during the weekends, demand is usual. Demand is high. Sometimes they have to curtail the demand. Usually, such happy hour deals are offered during which days of a week? Restaurants that has a huge demand or high demand, they offer such promotions during the weekdays. Maybe Tuesday, Wednesday, where the normal demand is low. To encourage more customers to come and utilize the facility. Happy hour deals. Think of a restaurant, think of a hotel. Think of a hotel during off season. During the period, foreign tourist arrivals are low. But they have to maintain the property. Hotel, rooms, staff should be occupied. So their capacity is higher, demand is low. Tourist hotels, what usually do? What usually do they do? To stimulate demand. Have you seen some strategies? Demand management strategies? Not capacity management, but demand management. How do they manage the demand then? They have to encourage probably other visitors like local visitors to come and stay there. Have you seen special promotions run by such tourist hotels during off season to encourage local tourists to come and stay there? Maybe they couple their promotions with credit card promotions. Have you seen? So that is to use demand management strategies to manage the capacity, additional capacity they have. Clear? Write such examples down and then you can also suggest demand management strategies for the company you are going to study for the scientific. If they are applicable, they are suitable. Any other thing that is not clear after this point? Having a simple idea is enough at your level. But because of the assignment, I gave you little more details. So when you collect data, when you interview managers, operations managers, or any other capacity manager or top manager, you have a simple idea now. What operations capacity is, what capacity management is, why they are needed, what key capacity measurement concepts are used, what are the common capacity problems, different capacity management strategies, level capacity, chase demand, and demand management. And more than anything else, when capacity problems are there, what are the tactics, what are the strategies you can use to modify the capacity problem or face the capacity problems? Now we have a simple idea. I expect you to think of the organization you are going to study and then identify their capacity problems, and then suggest something like this. Any other points up to this point? Clear? තේරෙනවද? තේරෙන්නේ නැද්ද? තේරෙනව නේද? For service industries also, most of these concepts are relevant, but particularly some of these techniques are relevant for service industries that you can understand. Under demand management in service sector, use of appointments and use of reservations would be more practical approach. Reservations, before going to the place, you have to reserve the place. Oh, FCMS principle stands for first come, first serve. And the capacity is limited. And capacity management, use of staff arrangements is the most common approach there. Full-time, temporary, part-time staff. For example, if you study a hospital for your assignment, doctor consultation. Let's say, unlike good old days, now we just can't go there and show, see a doctor, unless that is OPD. For other consultants, we have to reserve a number for ourselves, for the consultant, and then of course, make an appointment and put. Then only we can see the doctor. Then this same. Industries like hotels, airline services, reservations, booking early. Clear? So these are the practical techniques, practical concepts that every one of you should know. If you are into business management, right? Coming to the last step there, one before last, I guess. So we are in the process of identifying capacity management. So when different capacity modification options are there, in order to select the best option, management is responsible for evaluating them. And I will spend a little time with that as well. So for evaluating different capacity options available, there are different techniques used. Some of them are financial evaluations, economical evaluations, and technological evaluations. But as management students, they mostly depend on the financial evaluations to evaluate their financial impacts. So let me introduce you briefly. Some of those evaluation techniques that are listed in slide number 27. These are common evaluation techniques used for evaluating capacity alternatives. Techniques like PEP, break-even analysis, break-even analysis, and then of course NPV, net present value, that you are familiar with. internal rate of return, EMP, and other techniques are commonly used capacity evaluation techniques, especially in the long run. And at the same time, decision trees are also useful in evaluating different situations under different conditions. As finance applied accounting students, you are studying these techniques. So that I am not going to show you some examples and do the calculations here. Same equations. In fact, the examples you cited there in advanced management accounting, isn't so? Evaluating an investment decision for a new factory. That factory can be started at different capacity levels, maybe small capacity to medium capacity to high capacity. So those are the three capacity options available. Now you have to analyze the investment decision based on the investment and the cash flow. So maybe using break-even analysis. If you have to consider the present value of it, you may use the NPV analysis likewise. But I will just show you this this technique, decision trees, that also I guess you have studied for years. What is the difference between this and the other techniques? There is the decision trees. The probable outcome is not certain. So there can be different situations. There can be certain uncertainty or probability involved in the outcome. So how you analyze the uncertain outcomes using decision tree techniques and still make the investment decision. So to quickly understand that, we have a simple example here. We have a simple example here. Have you studied decision trees under advanced management accounting? Yeah. So I hope you can simply understand this one as well. I will take only 2 minutes. So this is about a glass factory specializing in crystal. And coming to its operations capacity, they are experiencing a substantial backlog, meaning they are getting more orders, but not being able to supply on time. There's a backlog now. Right? Backlog now to clear immediately or as quickly as possible. So the management is considering different capacity options available. Of course, they have identified 3 alternatives. One is going for subcontracting option. Subcontracting option, that is option A. Or the second option, constructing new facilities, like a new plant. So those are the 2 main options. Together with that, they are considering the third option, which is also an option in capacity adjustments. That is no change option. Do nothing option. What if you continue with the same capacity level without making any adjustment? So since that is an also option, you have to consider that one as well. It further says, it's a very simple example, just to get an idea. It further says that the correct capacity option, suitable option, depends on market demand. It depends on market demand. Largely depend on market demand. However, that is not certain. It could be either low market demand or medium or high. So the outcomes, probabilities vary, but there is not certainty. Now, we have provided some more details, like the management has assessed the probability of each situation and accordingly has estimated the probability of each outcome like this. So low market demand 10%, medium 50%, then of course high demand 40%. Then to analyze this type of example, you need further details like the investment decision, expenses, and the revenue. Expenses and the revenue you need. It says a cost analysis is conducted. There's a table given below that shows the effect upon cost. Effect upon cost, which means not the investment expenditure, or not the revenue expenditure, but the sense of them. So effects upon cost is revealed or shown in the next table. That is called payoff table. That is given in, let's say, millions. So these are the three options available. These are the three options available. A, and low market demand, medium and high, right? So let's say market demand. If the market demand is low, under the first option, effect upon cost, that means investment and revenue. The final impact of it will be 10 million, let's say, to make it simple. Only shown 10 here. What is the option? Arrange for subcontracting. Option A. The market demand is low. Effect upon cost would be 10 million. That's it. Whereas if the market conditions become medium, that means demand medium, impact on that would be 50. If market demand is high, that would become 90. Compared to that, the second option, construct new facilities, and still the market demand would be low, the impact would be minus 120. If the market demand medium, it would be 25. And if the market demand goes up to high demand situation, the impact would be 200. So likewise. These are the figures for third option, that is do nothing option. So consider such information. If you are to analyze three options and recommend the management using decision trees, what your suggestion would be? Take 2 minutes quickly to solve this and give us your recommendation using the decision tree approach. You have three options available. Each capacity options suitability depends on the market demand. One might ask, are these information about the investment or the revenue? Well, as shown here, this is effects upon cost. That means based on the investment and the revenue, what is the final impact of it? That is given on the payoff table, right? So based on the investment and the revenue, the impact of it has been calculated and that is given on the payoff table. Could be in exam questions, you will be given the investment separately, revenue separately, under each option, right? So then you will have to calculate this payoff table. So then the calculations will become little more complicated, but here the final payoff table is given. So you consider these as the effects upon costs and consider them for the calculation. Can you quickly solve this? We have three options, option A, B, and C. For which? We have to consider three market conditions and their probabilities. Let's say option A. Has three market situations: low market demand, medium, and high. Probabilities are known: market demand, low market demand, that is 0.1, medium 0.5, and high 0.4. Right. So for each situation, we are to consider the effects upon cost and the probability and with the impact of this option for A. So if the market demand prevail at low level, for option A, impact would be 10 multiplied by the probability of that, that is 10%. You get an answer for this. If the market demand becomes medium, impact would be 50 multiplied by probability of it, that is 50%, that is 5.5. You get an answer for this. And likewise, in case of high demand market condition, impact would be 90 multiplied by probability of that is 4.4. You get an answer and you get the totals of these for option A. So likewise, you do the same for option B. For that also three market conditions should be considered: low, medium, and high. And the effects upon costs should be considered. So let's quickly consider that. So in case of option B, that is constructing new facilities, right? If the market demand is low, effect upon cost would be a minus value, that is 120 minus. And the probability for that is again point, that is 10%. Get an answer for this. And for this one, go for B option, and then market demand becomes medium, that is 25 into probability of B, that is 0.5. You get an answer for this. So as for the third situation, 200 into the probability of that 0.4 to get an answer for this. So you get the total and you consider that one as well. So as for the third option, option C. And how to recommend the best option out of these three? Based on these total values for each option. Which one would be selected or suggested? The one that has highest positive effect. Highest positive. Mind you now, this is a minus value. Consider that as a minus value. I hope you are familiar with similar calculations. The payoff table, that is easy, but sometimes you will be given expenditure separately or the investment separately, revenue separately. So you'll have to set them off and prepare a payoff table like this. And then the probabilities and do the calculation in order to recommend the best option. So when you check the totals, which one you would recommend to the management? A, B, or C? Can B. Can B, because that is the highest positive. I took a little longer time for this topic. It doesn't matter. That practical information is needed. It might be useful for you some way, right? Especially your assignment is based on this topic, so that whatever we discussed here will be useful for collecting data and preparing the report as well. Yeah. Quickly go through the remaining part of the handout and see anything that is important for you that we have missed. Whatever we discussed so far would be adequate for your understanding. Anything that you think important that we could discuss? When is the deadline for the submission? End of December, right? Make sure you complete it before 20th or so. We can have the deadline somewhere around 30th. But during the festive season, last 2 weeks you will be busy celebrating Christmas and other things. So try to complete it little early. Right? There are concepts like these that you can simply understand, otherwise it doesn't matter. Well, about this one, right? I'm not going to explain it in detail. When it comes to capacity adjustment strategies, some firms may follow a strategy called lagged strategy, while some others are following lead strategy. And then match and dynamic. Just find a little more detail. For some industries, lagged strategy would be more we call it risk aversion, right? Lag. Simple idea is something like this. Right? Assume that this has the time and this has the demand and then of course capacity, right? Assume now a firm is experiencing a demand like this over a period of time that is growing, that is increasing. A firm following a Lanka strategy will adjust its capacity after some time, right? Say now they have a capacity level like this. They have a capacity level like this. They will operate at that level until the demand grows up to that point. And only then they will increase the capacity and maintain that level. And then when the demand increases, they just increase the capacity and then continue at that level. When demand increases, only it responds to the market demand. So like I said, then continue that. So that type of strategy is called lag capacity adjustment. Some industries, some firms prefer that option. They do not respond well in advance. Only when the demand goes up to that level, they then increase the capacity. More defensive approach. So, and a strategy like what I shown here in blue, that is the capacity adjustment. So, some firms prefer that strategy. We call it lag strategy. Only the demand, or they wait till the demand grows up to some level and then respond to that and then maintain that level. Whereas this one, lead, as the term implies, lead, firm respond well in advance. They don't wait till the demand grows, they increase the capacity and wait till the demand grows. They lead the way. If I just show the same here, using another line like this. Right? So such firms would maintain anyway a higher capacity, right? Knowing that the demand will grow, they will further increase the capacity, right? And maintain. And then they will further increase the capacity and then maintain. So likewise, the second company, their approach is leading strategy. They improve the capacity before the market demand actually goes up to that level. And thereby they take a risk and then being able to supply to the market. Mostly the market leaders follow the second approach. Find little more details about the other two if needed. And that will be useful for your assignment as well. Clear? Thank you. And lead. What did we discuss under this topic? Operations capacity. So about operations facilities. Few things like the factories, machinery, production line, and then the workforce. We understood the importance of planning it well advanced, and then the strategies and the techniques available. Without moving to the new topic, let's stop it there. Hope you will start collecting data and completing the assignment. Hope to see you next week. Take care.
Yeah.
Yeah.